Social Security is the bedrock of the American retirement system. Over 70 million Americans depend on it, and it keeps 22 million seniors and children out of poverty. As of 2025, the average monthly retirement payout is only $1,980. But many Americans find themselves dependent on Social Security for their basic needs. The Trump administration and his Department of Government Efficiency have talked about fraud in Social Security and have put into question the future of program. The idea of privatizing it is once again on the table. Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to explain what would happen if we privatize Social Security. What does it mean to privatize and how would it change the way Social Security works now? These are questions that need to be answered if we're going to talk about replacing the current government-run program. Right now, it's not perfect, but Social Security has never missed a payment in 90 years, which is more than any other private business can say. In this video, we're going to go over the benefits of privatizing and the potential risks. Is this even something our do-nothing Congress can get done? It sounds like such a monumental task that would require a thoughtful process, some compromise, and listening to experts that our current leaders seem incapable of doing. And if they mess this up, we're talking 70 million Americans losing $2,000 a month and many of them falling into poverty. Privatizing Social Security is not a new idea. It was first introduced during the Bush administration. Back in 2005, then President George W. Bush proposed creating a voluntary system by which working taxpayers could choose to invest some of their Social Security taxes into an individual account of stocks and bonds, similar to a 401k or an IRA.
Nothing will change if you're retired or near retirement. Two, I do not believe we should raise payroll taxes to try to fix the system. Three, I do believe younger workers ought to be allowed to take some of their own money, some of their own payroll taxes, and on a voluntary basis set up a personal savings account, an account that'll earn.
Bush's plan ran into big trouble, and by 2008, the market crashed. The Dow Jones lost about 54%. The American public started to lose confidence in George Bush, and it became clear that had Social Security been privatized, people would have lost 54% of their retirement, and that maybe investing your entire retirement into stocks wasn't such a good idea after all. Newly elected President Barack Obama would make it a central part of his administration to keep Social Security public.
The thing we can't afford to do, though, is privatize Social Security. An ill-conceived idea that would add trillions of dollars to our budget deficit while tying your benefits to the whims of Wall Street traders and the ups and downs of the stock market. A few years ago, we had a debate about privatizing Social Security, and I'd have thought that debate would have been put to rest once and for all by the financial crisis we've just experienced. I'd have thought, after being reminded how quickly the stock market can tumble, after seeing the wealth people worked a lifetime to earn wiped out in a matter of days, that no one would want to place bets with Social Security on Wall Street, that everyone would understand why we need to be prudent about investing the retirement money of tens of millions of Americans. But some Republican leaders in Congress don't seem to have learned any lessons from the past few years. They're pushing to make privatizing Social Security a key part of their legislative agenda if they win a majority in Congress this fall.
Fast forward to today, and privatization is once again being discussed. Elon Musk and Donald Trump have said publicly that Social Security is full of fraud and one are collecting benefits. None of that is true, but they have fired 12% of the Social Security staff in closed offices. They have caused chaos and increased wait times. Some are saying this is all so that when Social Security does collapse, they will have to privatize it to save it. So, what does privatization really mean? It means putting some or all of workers' Social Security taxes into individual investment accounts instead of the Social Security Trust Fund. But while the concept is fairly straightforward, the consequences can be enormous. Here's a look at what privatization really means, how it might work, and how it could potentially affect retirees. Social Security works by collecting taxes from working Americans and uses that money to pay the benefits to retirees and disabled. Any extra collected go into the Social Security Trust Fund, where they are invested in treasuries. Right now, the taxes collected from working Americans are not enough to fund the benefits to retirees. So, the Social Security Trust Fund is actually being depleted. Under privatization, the entire process would change. Rather than having your taxes go into a fund to pay the benefits of retirees, money would instead go into private, individual accounts. Each worker would have control over the investments in their individual accounts. One of the primary benefits is the potential for higher returns. Currently, the Social Security Trust Fund earns less than 3% interest, while the stock market averages 11%. Theoretically, allowing investors to choose from a wider range of investments like stocks, bonds, and mutual funds would allow investors to generate higher returns. Rather than relying on worker contributions and the returns of Treasury securities, investors could be more aggressive and earn stock like returns over the long run if they chose. Another suggested benefit of privatization is that worker savings rates may actually increase. Social Security taxes are a mandatory fact of life for workers, and they don't even go to fund future benefits for those who pay them. Rather, they are used to pay the benefits of those who are already retired. With privatized individual accounts, workers could be allowed to set aside a larger percent of their earnings towards their Social Security accounts. Participation could also increase as workers would see the money go directly into their own accounts instead of being seen as taxes that go right to the government. What about the downside? Transitioning from the current system to privatization would be very messy. For starters, if Social Security was immediately privatized, it would turn off the flow of funds from current workers that is used to pay benefits for retirees. In short, the only available funding for paying benefits would be the Social Security Trust Fund, which is already being depleted even with current worker contributions. For a number of years or even decades, the program would have a significant financial shortfall, which would result in either higher deficits or higher taxes, or both. Another potential problem is that workers aren't always good at investing their own money. Studies have shown that the average investor in a mutual fund, for example, tends to underperform the return of the fund itself. This is because investors tend to sell out of funds when the market is down and miss the big gains of a bounce back. They only buy back in when shares have already gone higher. If investors do this in their own privatized Social Security accounts, they may actually end up losing money or underperforming Treasury securities rather than getting the higher returns. And lastly, there's the issue of treasuries. If Social Security isn't buying up all these Treasury bonds, who's going to buy them? Would it make it harder for the government to borrow money and possibly raise interest rates? There are still a lot of unknowns. So, what do you think? Should Social Security be privatized? Let us know. In the comment section below, we want to know what you think. In the end, privatizing Social Security is much more complicated than simply making an announcement and changing the system. Any change would first have to address how to pay retirees, as taxes on current workers would now be going to fund their own privatized accounts. The idea also raises the fundamental question of whether workers should be in charge of their own Social Security accounts. And if the whole process doesn't simply amount to a windfall in fees and commissions for the financial firms that would be administering the funds, clearly there's a long way to go before such a system is implemented. But it pays to be on top of the chatter, since any changes would have a huge impact on both current workers and retirees. If you like this video, please click the like button. It lets us know you want to see more videos like this one. Also, if you want to follow all changes happening to Social Security, please subscribe to the channel. We're bringing you regular updates and explaining what changes are happening to Social Security. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.